This podcast is a part of Straight Up Strange Productions. Discover more shows like this one at straightupstrange.com.
You are listening to the Oddball Aussie podcast with me, your host, Oz Oddball. During this episode, you may hear things that challenge your own beliefs, but please have an open mind and enjoy. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Aussie Oddball, and if you have any stories you want to share, send them to theoddballaussie@hotmail.com. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. That's right. Welcome back to the Oddball Aussie podcast. This time we're actually recording on holiday. Yeah, I'm on holidays at the moment, and so it might sound a little bit different. There might be a little bit echo, a little bit of sound in the background because we are recording from a cabin, not from the normal studio where I've got all my equipment set up. So got all the basic equipment though, so it should sound pretty okay. Anyway, I hope you've all been doing really well. I hope everything has been going well for you in your own lives. And I hope you've all been enjoying the last two episodes I've done for the year. So we start off the year, we've been talking about ghost hunting and what sort of equipment you would use to go ghost hunting and how to do your own research. And I think a few people have messaged me already saying it's been really, really helpful. A few people said I was a little bit repetitious in the last one, but that's okay. I mean, that does happen. I do enjoy the feedback, so please keep it coming. Definitely, if you want to let me know anything, or if you got a story you want to tell, or if you want to come on the show and have a discussion with me, go to theoddballaussie@hotmail.com and send all your emails there, or direct message me on Twitter at AussieOddball, because they're the two places you'll find me the most, and they're the two places where I'm the most interactive. Honestly, Facebook, I'm looking at even shutting down the Facebook account because I don't use it, and it really is just, I constantly get emails from Facebook saying, yeah, this is happening, that's happening, and it's really just taking up space in my emails. So primary ways to contact me is here, or even on the Instagram, to be honest. That's at Aussie Oddball as well. So tonight, today we're going to be talking about the metaphysical side of ghost hunting equipment. So we talked about all the technical stuff. So to recap, we talked about some of the equipment that you may want to purchase. So things like your voice recorders, your EMF meters, your cameras, even a bit more advanced equipment like laser grid setups. That's what we talked about last time. The ghost boxes, if you want to use them, and some of the techniques on how to use them. And honestly, there's more I can go into with that, but I think we might save that for more particular, a more particular episode around how to set up some experiments. So we might do a whole episode later on ghost experimentation. But right now, I still want to finish up the three-parter on ghost hunting equipment, because I really do want to move on to something different soon. Maybe get into a cryptid or get into an alien or something like that. But honestly, so why did I leave the metaphysical stuff until the last? Well, to be honest with you, it's probably my weakest point. It's probably the part that I'm the most skeptical about. I don't know. I'm not too sure whether I really believe in the use of crystals and the use of smudging and stuff like that. I know I've seen it done. I know people say they have good reactions from it, but I don't know. My brain's a little bit too analytical at times, and that's where the skeptic side of me does come out. So honestly, this one will be probably a bit shorter because we're on holidays, but also because I don't have as much really to say about it. There is some interesting stuff, and there's probably better people out there with podcasts that can explain more of this stuff. This is going to be like a metaphysical items 101, like things to chuck in your toolkit. Basically, all three of these episodes are exactly that. The first one was basic setup, like basic requirements of what you need. how to go about finding a place to research, and then the second one was advanced equipment and advanced techniques. So then this one's going to be more about the metaphysical. But yeah, it's been really, really interesting going through all this all over again, because it's really got my brain thinking about all our different research techniques that we used to use in the past that I haven't been able to use in such a long time, especially because of COVID, with a lot of the places where we used to go to being closed off, or people not being willing to let people into their homes and into their even homes that are derelict or dilapidated. People still not wanting to make that contact, which is understandable. That's a lot of people still very scared out there. So, but I think things are coming good. I mean, we're on a holiday now, and we're seeing most places are very much open up here in New South Wales anyway. And we're seeing most places, most people are doing the right thing. Yeah, honestly, we haven't really been affected this whole holiday, which we thought we would have been. We thought there'd be a lot of places that would be closed or not accessible. But so far, we've been ringing ahead and just asking places, are you guys open, or are you fully open? I know some places, especially with the little oddballs that I'd be worried about if the playgrounds are open, for instance, and things like that. So no, so far we've had no problems like that. So it's been very good. It's been good to go away on and see the ocean for a bit, and go out and have a swim every so often. It's been very good. Anyway, let's get into the ghost stuff. So, why do we use equipment? Honestly, that's a question that I do ask myself, because sometimes, and I said this in the last episode, is that I very much like to go out there without anything. But that doesn't ascertain any data. We can't get any data from just going out there and doing our own thing. We can have experiences, but really it's a self-reflecting thing. It's a thing that you can use for yourself rather than something you can use as data. So it depends on what you're going out there for. And again, as I said in the last two episodes, the best equipment you have is the equipment that you have. You don't need to go and spend a fortune on equipment. An old mobile phone, still the best piece of tech that you can have. Just an old mobile phone you've got tucked in your drawer at home somewhere that doesn't have a SIM card. If it has camera and has a voice recorder on it, excellent. Perfect piece of equipment. But for a lot of this stuff, we're going to be talking about things that are definitely maybe not things you'll find around your house. Maybe some of it is. So let's talk about, let's go into the first one, which is Ouija boards or spirit boards. Now, I know that will send a chill down some people's spines, and some people say, no, don't use them. Please don't use them. And that's understandable. A lot of people don't like the use of these things, especially people who are very much into the metaphysical side of things, will not want you to use them. And there's a lot of places you'll go, if there's a psychic involved, they won't want you to use any of that stuff either. So that's understandable. But if you are going to be doing that, please be courteous and explain that to the people you're going out with, that you are intending on using one. And if there are any objections, consider not going on that tour or not going on that research trip. If you're in your own team, or if you and a friend are going, as I said before, I always recommend at least go with two people, never go by yourself. And that's not just because, a ghost might get you. It's because you might fall in a hole, or you might break your ankle, or something bad might happen, and you want to have someone else who can alert authorities or emergency services. But yeah, so be tolerant and be accepting that some people won't want you to use certain pieces of equipment. So a spirit board or a Ouija board are definitely two pieces of equipment that are non-technical equipment. They're pieces of equipment that are just, it's a board with letters on it. You've got your traditional Ouija board style with the alphabet and your numbers underneath in a semicircle. With some symbology and yes and no written on it. Then you've got a spirit board, which, look, I don't really know if there is a difference, but some psychics that I've worked with in the past have told me that a spirit board, because a spirit board has the letters in a full circle, the alphabet goes around in a full circle, the numbers go around inside the circle, and then the yes or no just on the outside of the circle. So I have had a lot of people tell me that it's safer, especially it's easier to contain spiritually. Again, I don't know anything about that. All I know is I've used it, and some people who have used it have had some really good results. I'm still skeptical. Sometimes I think people don't intend on moving the plectrum, but subconsciously they want to see it move, so they will move it. And then, especially if you get 3 people on it or 4 people on it who all equally want to believe, without realizing it, they can all move it together. So one person might be the person who starts pushing it, and then the other 3 feel it moving, so they just follow along with it, or they assist it a little bit by a gentle little nudge as well. And yeah, this can be a very psychological thing. This can be something where people are just trying to get their own I don't know, their own thing. They want to talk to the loved ones. And this is where the spirit boards and Ouija boards get very interesting, because depending on your religious background, there's a lot of people who will say that people like, say, Christians, and I believe when I was speaking to a Muslim friend of mine, they discussed it as well, that this can be something where they'll say, well, no, anything that comes through that board will not be your loved one. Because in their belief systems, once they've passed on, they've passed on. There is no ghosts. The ghosts that exist in their beliefs is that they're either a demon or they're some sort of aberration from the darker side of their religion. So they're not generally going to be a human trying to talk. So that's where you might get a bit of difference there. Then more your spiritualist people and things like that may believe, yeah, it is a real person's soul trying to come through who hasn't crossed over. Now, a lot of people who are religious will still go along with these things, with the spirit boards and the Ouija boards, but they'll request that you use some sort of prayer. So archangel prayers, things like that. A lot of them will do. A lot of psychics will do this as well. I find it intriguing. There's a lot of psychics who will do prayers like that, but will not call themselves Christians or any other type of religion. They'll just say they're spiritualists. So many of them explain to me that they'll take some beliefs of some religions and then they'll put it together with their own beliefs. And so they're sort of, it is picking and choosing, but if it's working for them, if it's their belief, well then I'm not going to take that away from them. That's their own personal beliefs. So a lot of people will set that up. Another thing to do when you're doing the Ouija boards and the spirit boards is some people set up a salt circle around the outside, sit within a salt circle. Others will just sprinkle consecrated salt, so that's salt that's been consecrated by a priest. They might have holy water there to sprinkle around the area. Some people will set up a pentagram of crystals, so 5 crystals around themselves, and that's when they'll sit in the middle of it. A lot of people say that that's a protection. Others say that that's a way of summoning demons. So yeah, it's so dividing. It's so different depending on who you're talking to and their beliefs. And the thing is with all of this, is that there's no real answer. No one has an answer. No one has a definite truth about any of this. Everyone has experiences. Everyone has their own stories or their own opinions, or things that have happened to them. But nobody really has. No one can write a book and say this is exactly what happens. Like this is what happens after you die. This is what the next stage is, and the way to contact these things is by doing X, Y, Z. If we look into mythology from around the world, that's one thing I like to do. So taking away, mythology does tie into religion, of course, but if we look at folk tales and mythology from around the world, we can really draw a conclusion onto a lot of different things. So we can look at things like spirits that appear in, say, Irish mythology. We've got a lot of trickster spirits. We've got a lot of, I wouldn't say they're nasty spirits, but they're just tricksters. And then we apply that to things like gods. There's always a trickster god. There's a lot of stories where the gods are omnipotent, but can't be trusted. So it's sort of like the Greek and the Norse gods. Very interesting pantheons of gods there. Not necessarily always friends to the humans. In many stories are. Thor is a friend to humans many times. But in other stories, humans get sacrificed quite a bit for no real reason. And people get used as tools for no real reason. So it is interesting. And if we apply that belief in gods to, say, a trickster spirit rather than a trickster god, say, if we took the ideas of Ares, god of war, and what Ares does, creates rage, wants wrath, wants to fight, and then you apply that to something like the four horsemen. You have wrath as one of the horsemen, and then you look at every other religion, all have some sort of god of war or wrath or anger or rage. So then a lot of people say, well, what if they weren't gods? What if they were a spirit that they were communicating with? So some sort of deity that exists that isn't quite godlike, doesn't have omnipotent power, but is different enough and unexplainable enough to have humans believe, I've got to do everything this thing says because it's going to try to take over me, or it's going to try and kill me and my family. So yeah, I mean, that's understandable. I mean, imagine if I don't know. Imagine if a mouse could talk, and we spoke to them and said, every time you eat something, you're going to die, and then we poison every single bit of food that they have, and then they start to die. They're going to think that we're some sort of omnipotent being that has magic abilities and stuff, before even thinking about what's wrong with my food. So same thing goes for us in many ways. If and this sort of comes up when we talk about aliens and stuff like that, is if we ran into another species, could we even trust the thing they say, because we're not smart enough to really, if they're far superior than us, are we just the mice believing one thing and not thinking outside the box? So same thing could be said for these spirits. Are we looking at these spirits in mythology and thinking, oh wow, these are gods? This was Loki the trickster god. What if it was just a trickster spirit? What if it was just some sort of being that exists between realms and it just plays tricks on people? That's where it gets tricky when it comes to what you call through these Ouija boards and spirit boards and stuff like that. If something does, if the plectrum moves and people are saying it's not them, I still don't sit there and say, yep, it's definitely a human soul coming through. I just say it's an activity. It's a sign of an activity. Something has taken place that we can't quite explain. And if I genuinely believe that the 3 or 4 people on the board didn't move it, and I'm being honest, that'll be a head scratcher for me, but I won't trust what's coming through. Like if something came through saying, I'm a little girl who died in 1945 and I'm just looking for my little dolly, many people would go, okay, well, we need to find this old doll. Maybe it's inside the house somewhere. Let's say we went looking for it and we found it. What's to say that that's not just some sort of a malevolent spirit trying to condition us into doing something so that next time we go, oh, we'll see, it must have been this little girl because we found the dolly and now she's happy. What if it is just them seeing what they can use us for? If they can use us to do things for them. So we think about some of these serial killers and people like that who have said that they've had voices telling them to. Obviously, most of the time, this is some sort of mental health condition. 99, 100%. 100% is probably a mental health condition. But if we considered that, what if there was tiny percentage that this was actually some sort of a spirit or something mucking with their head and telling them to do something. That could be exactly how they started. They started by going and they saw them move a cup, and then they moved the cup back from them. The spirit then says, I want to move 2 cups, so they go and get them another cup. And then the spirit keeps on telling them to do things, and by the time they get to the end, the person's basically a slave to the spirit now. So it is something interesting to consider. So the use of spirit boards and Ouija boards, as I said, be very careful. I've done a whole episode on Ouija boards too, by the way. So go back last year's episodes, go back through the backlog on Podbean, and you'll find it. Should be on Apple as well and anywhere else. But go back and have a look. Yeah, very in-depth episode about Ouija boards and how to use them, what not to do, what to do, all that type of thing. Number one thing what it comes down to is make sure everyone's comfortable in using one. Make sure you get everyone's permission. And you let people know that you've brought one along. The worst thing is when someone just gets one out and didn't tell anyone. I think that's quite rude. All right, so what else can we look at? Well, let's talk about things like anointing. Oh no, blessed items and anointing oils. These are two that sort of go in hand because some people use anointing oils to bless items. A lot of people, especially Christians and Catholics, will carry around, say, exorcism medallions that have a Saint Benedict blessing on them. So most of them are just like a little silver medallion. Some of them are a patch, like a material patch, and the Saint Benedict medal is a Christian sacramental medal containing symbols and texts related to the life of Saint Benedict of Nursia, used by Roman Catholics as well as Anglicans, Lutherans, Methodists, and Western Orthodox. In the Benedictine Christian tradition, the medal is one of the oldest and most honored medals used by Christians, and due to the belief in its powers against evil, it is also known as the devil-chasing medal. As early as the 11th century, it may have initially had the form of St. Benedict's cross and was used by Pope Leo the Ninth in widespread use after its formal approval by Pope Benedict in the 18th century. The medal is used to ward off spiritual and physical dangers, especially those related to evil, poison, and temptation. And a lot of these come from Italy. People advertise them directly from the Vatican, directly from Italy. They've been blessed. Like, you can never really tell. I mean, no one's ever going to say, we can prove it. So. But a lot of people carry things like that. So they're your blessed items and things like that. We also have Rosary Beads, a fairly common one as well, that people use as protection. We've got things like the Crucifix. A lot of people carry the Crucifix, especially, as I said, Christians and Catholics. But there are a lot of people who use Crucifix regardless. A lot of people see the Crucifix also used in many pagan beliefs as well. At least a cross of some sort, a Celtic cross in some forms as well. Some people will carry around a bag of Himalayan blessed salt, so pink Himalayan salt. I don't think it really matters. Just a lot of people just get a bag of blessed salt, and they'll use that, sprinkle it over the area, or they'll make a circle, things like that. And of course, the Saint Michael bottles of holy water. So they'll have a seal of Saint Michael on a bottle of holy water. So they just have an additional blessing of Saint Michael. Saint Michael being one of the angels that was a protector angel. A lot of people do love their religious items, and it makes them feel comfortable. And for some people, that's exactly what it is. It's not even about that they actually believe this is going to do anything. It's just something that might settle their nerves, that's completely fair. Then of course we've got our anointing oils. So in the form of anointing oils, we've got a lot of them come from Jerusalem. Jerusalem. Um, Again, there's no verification that they really do come from there. Then you've got like your Archangel, Raphael, Gabriel, and Michael oils. Again, I don't know if you can really. I don't know how you make oil based on archangels. And look, that's not me being disrespectful or anyone. I know there's people out there who make these things up, create these potions and lotions, and do believe in them. And I respect it if you really do believe in it. But if you're a scam artist out there just trying to make a quick buck out of someone by pouring a bit of tea tree oil into a bottle and saying it's St. Michael's oil, come on, yeah, get real. So one here that I thought was really interesting was the olive wood holy oil keychain. So I see these pop up quite a bit. So the olive tree is native to the Holy Land since ancient times, when its oil was used for nourishment, healing, and the anointment of prophets and kings, and as fuel for the temple lamps in Jerusalem. Today, Christians in Bethlehem carve the cherished olive wood to remind us of Jesus, Mary, and the story of our salvation. They make these little wooden handcrafted oil bottles, and this is one that I actually would probably buy. Not so much out of I'm going to use it as a protection thing, more like a trinket. It's a neat little trinket, all handcrafted from most places, and you can always tell when something's handcrafted when you have a look at it. But yeah, little wooden. It's got a glass flask built into the inside of the wooden carrier, and it carries the oils in there and stuff like that. For me, being a bit skeptical on that stuff, I might carry a bit of oil in there for my salad. Chuck a bit of olive oil in there, eh? Again, not trying to be disrespectful. It's just that it is hard for me to get my head around the metaphysical things. And look, if any of you out there do these sort of things, the metaphysical stuff, please get in contact with me. Come on the show, explain it to me better, because this is one side of the whole ghost research, paranormal research thing that I'm not up to scratch with. I don't understand things like tarot cards. I don't understand things like anointment oils and crystals, and it's not from lack of research. I've done plenty of reading up about these things. It's when you read up about these things, there's never it's always from the point of view of the writer. It's very hard to find a really good article, really good guide that explains everything properly. Because it's either going to be written by a very, very skeptical person who's just going to call it all BS, or it's going to be written by someone who's right into it and wants to sell you a mountain load of oils. So that can be really, really difficult. Okay, so that sort of leads us into the incense burning, and since we're going on with oils, so oils and incense, whether you're burning incense or burning oils, I do I do believe there is a good use for incense in the way of calming people's minds and things like that. I think smell is a really strong connection to how people feel. And I think, regardless whether it's placebo or not, I think the scent of something when someone's trying to relax can really relax muscles and take away muscle pain. For instance, I love using Radox when I've got sore muscles, and honestly, it's probably the smell that does more than the actual stuff in the water. It's not really penetrating into the tendons, but because the smell relaxes me, it lets my muscles and tendons all relax along with it. So to me, that makes more sense that would happen. That would allow the body to relax. So this gets used in ghost hunting as well. So this comes from a website called Grayson Paranormal Founder. It seems to be a blog, or a website made up of different blogs. And this is a blog that was written by Amanda Denton, and she's one of the founders of the Grayson Paranormal Society. So I'll try to reach out to them. This is from 2012 though, so it's a fairly old post. But I'll try to reach out to them, and I'll see if I can get someone to talk to, because they seem to know this stuff when it comes to this the more metaphysical things. So in this, she's written that a list of natural oils and what they're used for. So amber oil is good for use for protection and healing. Balsam, good for healing, clearing, and protective use. Orange, good for use of natural antidepressant and balance emotions. Cactus, good for beauty, love, and protection. Cedar, good for use of self-confidence, purifying, strengthening, and good for eliminating odors. Cinnamon, good for love, success, and money. Cypress, good for cleansing, strengthening spirit, and healing. Violet, good for good fortune. Frankincense, good for use for spiritual purifying and cleansing. Geranium, good for love, strength, and protection. Jasmine, good for use as antidepressant, love, and balance. And there's so many more. I'll get this list and I'll put it up in the show notes. I'll put a link in there for you all. But yeah, I can sort of understand that a lot of people, in my sense, you would use these incense to get a certain emotive experience out of a person. So I would probably use certain incense to maybe calm a group down, to make them feel more at home. So something like a vanilla, a very calming, soothing sort of smell might calm the group down, might make people feel a bit calmer about what they're doing, sitting in an abandoned old house at 3:00 in the morning. It can get the fear up a bit. So things like that could be really useful. Whereas if you wanted to sort of have people might want to use these, I guess, for the spirits. I think a lot of people do. So things like you're trying to cleanse, you might use cypress. Again, for protection, you might use geranium. It's interesting though. You don't really find any. And I always remember this. And if anyone knows of this and wants to let me know, I've never found a scent that anyone says this is one for stirring the spirits up. This is one for getting them riled up. And I know a lot of people, again, would be like saying, no, Oz, don't do that, silly. But for those of us who do take those risks, it would be interesting to know. I don't have that information for you. 90% of the time when people talk about incense, it's always how to calm, banish, purify, for protection, for spirit, stuff like that. So yeah, many different uses for it. And again, used in combination with things like spirit boards, Ouija boards can be a really handy thing. While we're at it, we'll also talk about another thing you can be doing while you're having these incense oils going is doing a bit of table tipping. So table tipping is the use of a small sort of camping table, something lightweight normally. And we had a really good one that we used to use when we used to do research. It had a table lid, like the tabletop clipped on underneath, but the clips weren't very strong. And if someone was lifting the table by the tabletop, it was easy to tell because the top of the table in that corner on their side would pop off because they're putting pressure on it. And this could be done with a light bit of pressure, and the whole end of theirs would lift up, and the tabletop would roll up, sort of like a caterpillar track. And so it was really interesting. You could see all the different movements. So if someone was trying to lift, the tabletop would warp and bend where their fingers were. Tricky to find tables like that. We just got lucky. I think it was just a normal camping. It was like a collapsible table we had that folded up, and you could put it into like a tube. Really, really good one to have. But if you don't have that, you don't have that. It's just gonna be harder to keep an eye on people. One thing that you can keep an eye on though is if you're the person wandering around recording or keeping an eye on things, look at the color of people's fingers, especially if they're paler of skin. When they put their fingers underneath something, their fingers, if they're putting pressure on it, their fingers will turn like a pale color. Like the blood will be moved away from that part of their fingers. So you can tell they're putting pressure on it. So keep an eye out for that. Part of this whole 3-part series is also been about how to debunk a lot of people who are trying to pull one over you, trying to scam you. So keep an eye out for that. Again, though, if you don't see any signs of this, and the table starts rocking around and tipping and bouncing around all over the place, this could be a sign that something really strange is happening. It could be an actual paranormal experience. So, and I hope some of you have genuine experiences with this. Now, I know some of you have, because some of you told me about them. I think the weirdest one we had was when we had the whole table lift off the ground one day. It lifted about maybe 5 centimeters off the ground, and the top of the table didn't come off, and people had their fingers underneath like, so their fingers were still touching the table, and the table was 5 centimeters up off the ground, and it was obviously resting on all their fingers, but the table top didn't come off. And then so as soon as it finished and the table landed on the ground, came back down to the ground, I sat down next to them and I just put my fingers underneath it to see if I could pop it off. As soon as I put pressure, the whole table top popped off. So, yeah, that was a bit strange. I still, if they were faking that, I still don't know how they would have faked that. Same thing, we had the same table once sort of be walked around the room, and the people around the table had to stand and crouch and walk around the room with it, which is a bit funny. But again, the top didn't pop off, and when we tested it straight away afterwards, top popped off straight away. So, yeah, that could have been a sign of something strange. It could have also been someone who was who figured out how our table worked and figured out a cunning way of moving it without us knowing. But I think we would have picked up on that. So you do find some strange things by not using, it's using low-tech techniques as well. All right, so a lot of these metaphysical things, as you can see, can all be used at the same time. So there's no harm in using these things, even if you don't believe in them. Use them just to see if you can get a reaction. No differently how we talked about in the last episode about using the stuffed toys with the lights in them or the remote control cars with the lights in them. Use them just to see if you can get a reaction. Honestly, it could be one of the more fun things that you do. Now, if we have a look at let's have a look at a few other items. So crystals. The use of crystals in ghost hunting is an interesting one. It gets used quite a bit, and a lot of people would like to use hematite. And hematite, a lot of people use it in a pyramid shape. So a pyramid of carved and polished hematite. Hematite is a great stone for grounding and is also a protective stone. Hematite's nature is to bring us back to equilibrium. A crystal pyramid can be used to draw off negative energy. A crystal pyramid can also be used to enhance and focus the properties of the stone. So the particular stone you're using, if it's done into a pyramid, they believe it can be enhanced. It can be channeled through the top of the pyramid. So yeah, it just depends on what type of stone you want to use. A lot of people use hematite, tourmaline, and there's another dark stone. A lot of people use things like sungite. These are all, all gems and stones of some sort. Normally fairly low expense, fairly cheap stuff. So then you got things like kyanite, which is something that they believe it transmits and amplifies high frequency energies, making it a great stone for attunements. Kyanite has the ability to sweep debris, negative energy, and blocks from your chakras and auric fields. We're not going to get into chakras too much tonight because I don't know anything about them. To be blunt with you, I will one day, I'll hopefully soon get an expert on to talk about more of that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people will use these as, again, for themselves. It makes themselves feel much better about what they're doing and about how they're doing it. It could be just something that they feel it offers them that little bit of extra protection. Some people use little skulls. They've been formed into, they've been carved out of certain gemstones. And again, much like the incense, I've found a list of stones that can be very helpful to people. So diamonds, it's not a stone technically, but diamonds are known to banish all sorts of negative energy. A couple of paranormal groups say that diamonds also amplify your personal energy to help in interpersonal conflicts. And I'm pretty sure diamond cells will tell you that too. So agate is one of the best stones for protection. It can drive away spirits, protect you from psychic attack, and stop magic. Tawny agate is thought to be the strongest protective kind of agate. Beryl is known for magical protection, and it can help you find fairies. Garnet builds up your willpower, can reinforce your protective herbs. Carry them with you for added protection from spirits and ghosts. Gold, yes, it's a metal, but it's one that can amplify the effects of your protection techniques. Use it with herb burning that drives away evil spirits. That means use gold incense holders or burning protection herbs on a gold platter. Gold plated items won't help. Iron. So iron is definitely a protective thing. A lot of cultures around the world. This goes beyond that of the paranormal research. So a lot of mythology, a lot of ancient history. If we look back at a lot of cultures from ancient times, iron was definitely seen as a protective metal because of what it did. I mean, iron, when people learned how to forge and use iron, create iron properly, it was the strongest thing that they had. So Jasper, if you need protection against shadow people, Jasper will quickly dispel them. It will also disrupt magical attacks. Jet is a kind of coal that has protective properties against ghosts, evil spirits, and other earthbound entities. A few sources say you can burn it to enhance your herb defense as well. Magnetite. Magnetite is a great all-round protection stone. It can be in bracelets, earrings, rings, necklaces. Malachite, another good general protection from evil spirits and magic. It's in the copper family and has a deep green color. Obsidian and magnetite have a lot of the same powers. So once again, protection. 99% of these stones are protection. Some of them will help you with your own life force, like ruby. And onyx, people believe that onyx is a really good stone to have in your home or to wear to stop things from following you home after a ghost research tour or day. Things like sapphire, it's not a protective stone, but it's said to wash away negative energy from your system. And place in a glass of water and drink the water after 5-10 minutes to purify the negativity. Don't swallow the stone. Sardonics. Okay, Sardonics is a combination of onyx and sard. It makes the wearer invisible to magical attacks if you wear it on your skin. So, once again, this is where it gets really difficult for me. I just don't see... This sounds like Harry Potter stuff to me. You know, like this doesn't... I don't see... Like, I've had run-ins with people before in different community groups and research groups, and I'm sure that some people have wanted to hex me or curse me or anything like that. And if they have, I don't think I've ever felt it. I don't know. Like, if someone puts a hex on you, for instance, does that mean you start blaming everything on the hex or the curse? This is my problem with cursed objects. People will say, "Oh, don't buy a cursed object. Don't play around with Annabelle the doll. She'll curse you." Okay, so what does that mean? Does that mean that once you do that, every single time you have a bit of bad luck, you're going to think that it was that? Because statistically, you're going to have that bad luck regardless of whether you play with the doll or muck around with the wrong stone or the wrong incense or whatever, or someone casts a curse on you. You're going to have the same bad luck regardless of whether that happened or not. How do you quantify, how do you datify that? Yeah, it's like you'd have to have someone unknowingly, like, this is a tricky bit. Someone would have to knowingly document every time they have a really bad bout of bad luck. Then you would have to have someone who believes they've cursed someone before, believes they're very powerful, do a curse or get them to muck around with a cursed object or something, and then continue the research without them knowing they've been cursed in some way, and then see if there's been a differential in the data that they put forward. If there's an increase in the bad luck, then maybe we have a slight thing that we could work on. But again, maybe it's just bad luck as well. Maybe it's just the way the numbers fell. I don't know. It's always tricky when people start talking about curses and placebo. Like, it's like the opposite of version of a placebo effect, isn't it? It's like a reverse placebo effect. Placebo effects normally make you feel good, even though you just drank a cup of water that you think had a magical potion in it. Whereas, which I love placebo effect, by the way. If you can give me a drug that's going to make me feel better about something, if I've stubbed my toe and it's going to take away the pain and I believe it and it works, then I really don't care. If I've got someone who, when I used to do nursing, if someone's taking a sugar tablet and it's making them believe they have more energy to go and walk around and go for a walk every day, go and do yoga every morning, cool. Keep taking the sugar tablet. if that makes you believe that that's what gives you that energy, then cool, keep doing it. Like I wear a whalebone carved necklace, and I'm not a very spiritual person in that sense, and I'm not a very I'm not a very superstitious person, but I've worn this thing. And every time I've not worn it, I've had some really bad times. And now it's become more of a comfort thing than I believe it's actually magical. I don't believe it's magical, but I believe it comforts me. It makes me think about good times rather than focus on negativity. And it reminds me that there were times when I separated myself from this thing and I wasn't the person who I wanted to be. So I guess, yeah, it's sort of got that, my personal connection to it. And I mean, it's silly. It's a lot of people probably laugh at this, but because it's whalebone, every time I go to the coast, every time I've already done it this time, I've been on holidays, I soak it in the ocean. A little sort of ritual thing for me. To me, it's more of a cleansing thing. It's more of a me connecting back with the ocean with this object that I have around my neck, respecting the fact that it came from an amazing creature like a whale. And it was created by people in New Zealand of a Maori tribe, who and mind you, they didn't hunt the whale. That doesn't happen in New Zealand anymore. They are given permission when a whale beaches itself and it cannot be saved, or if it dies before anyone can get to it. The local tribes have the authority to go and use the creature, and they use it to provide food, money, support for their community groups, which is really, really great. Some friends that we have over there gave me this one, and yeah, they said it was for protection, and I've used it ever since. And same as my wife, they gave her a green a jade tiki, a greenstone tiki, and said wear it every time she was pregnant. She did. They said you will never have any problems with pregnancy. I think the one time that she didn't wear it was when she did have problems. So that made us go, oh, maybe there's something to this. But again, it's more of a totem to make you feel better about yourself. I don't know if it actually has any power. I might be completely wrong. And as I said, I really would love someone to come on and tell me exactly what these things mean, what totems are, what all this metaphysical stuff really means. Because maybe you might change my mind about a lot of this stuff. It's just hard for me to not, especially things like curses and casting a spell on a person. Like this idea that people cast a love spell on someone. I just don't, I can't believe it. It feels like Harry Potter stuff to me. But before I offend too many other people, as I said, please come on board. Send me your own resources and your own opinions. So we'll sort of finish up there. There is a book that I'm going to read, and I'll once I've read it, I will get back to you all about it. And we might have a book discussion. It's called Encyclopedia of Natural Magic by John Michael Greer. I'm going to check that out. Maybe it might enlighten me or make me understand a bit better. I don't know, but we'll give it a hot crack. I am open to anything, honestly. Again, a lot of these things go into like your candles, your incense, your stones, all very similar. They all have an effect. They all have something that they do. They're all very similar. Many of the candles tie into your oils and your essences. because they're the same essence as the herbs. Some people believe the herbs are better because the herbs are direct and natural. Then you've got things like smudging. So smudging is the use of smoking incense to chase away evil spirits. And you can buy some really, really good sage and lavender, sage and cedar, things like this. And look, honestly, they smell really nice. I've got friends. We have some friends who every time they move to a new house, they've done it. So it's I'm getting the knock on the door. I think it must be time to go out somewhere for a holiday. So I will finish up shortly. But yeah, we've got friends who use these smudging sticks to chase away evil spirits. And look, and it makes them feel content. It makes them feel happy when they move into a new house. And that's that's how it works. It makes their kids sleep better. It makes them sleep better. Yeah, and if that's all it does, then that's done its job, hasn't it? Anyway, we'll tie that up. Not as much data-driven stuff as the last two episodes, because yeah, as I said, it's a weakness on my part, and I'm really wanting to learn. So definitely get in contact with me. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions on this stuff. If you're a naysayer like me, let me know. Send it to theoddballaussie@hotmail.com, or send it to me on Twitter or Instagram @AussieOddball. And also, make sure you buy something on TeePublic. That's the Oddball Aussie Podcast on TeePublic. T-shirts, stickers, whatever you can find on there. A shower curtain. Whatever you want to buy, get on there and buy it. All money goes towards supporting the show. It all goes into a small fund that pays for things like the data for every month. Every time we've got to pay Podbean to host the show every month, that's where the money goes. It goes into new pieces of equipment, pieces of programming, whatever we need to keep the show going. Alrighty, so I'm going to go and enjoy my holiday, and I'll probably be back in a couple of days, to be honest. I'm going to try and do a couple of short episodes while I'm away, but for now, look after each other and stay safe out there in the weird. Good night.